What's up? So I was reading in the Bible the other day in 1 Samuel chapter 1 about Hannah. And this is the mother, the future mother of Samuel, the prophet. And something struck me when I was reading that because she makes a promise, and she couldn't have children. She was barren. God had shut up her womb. And she was upset because her Elkanah, her husband, had another wife, and she had children, but she didn't have children. So she's praying and fasting to God that God would give her children. And then Eli the prophet thought she was drunk and all that stuff. But she made the promise that she would give her child to God in the service of Him for the rest of his life if if God would give her a child. And then so she gets the child. She has the child. And she nurses him for a while until she weans him, and then she gives him up to Eli in the temple, and Samuel grows up in the temple and serves God. And the reason I brought this up is because my daughter actually was upset by this, because she was upset that that she had to give up her child. And we explained to her that I explained to her that she's the one that made the promise. And she said that if God gave her a child, she'd give it up in service to the Lord. And the reason I bring this up is because, and the reason I say that is because we said, listen, she wasn't forced to do that. She made the promise, and she volunteered to give the child up. And then after the child was born, she was just following through with what she had promised. Okay, and then my daughter understood. She said, oh, okay, she wasn't forced to do it. And so this is a big lesson, though, that it's something that doesn't exist a lot today, which is basically integrity, that you're going to follow through with what you promise. And you see that all throughout the Bible, that and people had a lot of integrity in the Old Testament. Especially, it showed that if someone made a promise that they were going to do something, whether it was to God or anyone else, they always followed through with that promise. And even if it had really bad consequences, sometimes people would make a dumb vow or something that was not wise at all. And like if you look at Jephthah, I don't know, however you say his name, he said, first person that comes to the door, will sacrifice to the Lord. And guess what? It was his child. I think it was his daughter, right? And then he followed through with that. Now you could debate if he should have followed through with that or not, but the point is he never should have made that promise in the first place. Okay? And, another one was King Saul. King Saul heard that, first he commanded everyone in Israel not to eat any food for a while, because when they were battling the Philistines, but then his son Jonathan ate some honey off the ground, and everybody in Israel started eating food. And so it was reported to Saul that the people were eating food. And he said, whoever it is that did this sin, they'll be punished. They'll be put to death, even if it's my own son. Well, guess what? It was his son. And, before he could put his son to death, the people got upset, and they wouldn't let him do it. But nevertheless, he made a dumb promise. Again, someone did. And you see that all throughout the Bible, is that a number of different things. First of all, if you make a promise, you better make sure you're going to follow through with that promise, especially if you're making it to God. If you don't have any integrity, And another instance is in the Bible. Well, I'm sorry, the second lesson I wanted to say was that don't be too quick to make a promise, which you could end up making a bad promise. Because even when people made foolish promises, they still follow through with it. But most people have so little integrity today that they're quick to make a foolish promise, and then they don't even follow through with that. Let alone making a good promise and following through with it. They won't do it with the foolish one either. Because their words mean nothing. A lot of people today, their words mean nothing. It's kind of like a lot of salesmen, okay? I've studied a lot of sales and marketing stuff, and there's a lot of sales guys that will overpromise and underdeliver. That's something that they do a lot. They'll promise you the world. They'll tell you this is going to be the greatest thing you ever bought, and all these other types of things. And then when you get it, it was way not what you thought, and they underdelivered. So that's something that happens a lot. But another instance, though, another lesson in the New Testament is when Jesus told the parable. He said there were two people. One said, someone came and asked them, "Come help me in the field." One of them said, "Sure, I'll do it," and then he didn't go. And then the other one said, "No, I'm not going to do it." But then he got up and went. And Jesus asked, "Who's the one that did right?" And they said, "It was the one who said he wasn't going to do it, but then he did it." Why? Because what matters, it doesn't matter what you promise. It matters what you do. If you follow through. What you follow through with. The action that you actually take. Because you can say anything, you can promise anything, but if you don't actually do it, then it means nothing. Your words mean nothing. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's just useless. And, the Bible says, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Okay? And so the lessons that we should really think about is, if we promise something, you better make sure you follow through with it. And also about integrity. If you are made a foolish promise and it's going to result in some consequences for you that you didn't want, you still should follow through with keeping that promise, because it's your fault that you made that promise. Okay? At least have the integrity to follow through with what you said you were going to do. And so the other lesson that follows that is, do not be quick to make a promise that you're going to do something unless you are willing to follow through with it regardless of the consequences. You don't let your mouth get you into trouble. That's why the Bible says, be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Swift to hear, slow to speak. Slow to make a promise that you're going to do something unless you're actually going to do it. So we see that lesson all throughout the Bible, and I think it's something that we really need to focus on today. And so yeah, that's just the lesson that I got from reading about Hannah the other day. Hope that helps you, and God bless you. See you later.